What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. Zooming in on Harden specifically as a basketball player, how have you liked his fit offensively alongside James Harden and, alongside Paul George and Kawhi Leonard?
I think the fit needed to be established after they had 2 point guards in the starting lineup. When James got there, T. Lue wanted to keep Russ as the main point guard and have James be off the ball. It's just too many cooks, too many touches that needed to be figured out. And the thing with Paul George is that Paul is at his best when he knows he's got to be that guy, when he's not trying to quote unquote glue guy. Like we saw him in Dallas, like, say, I'm going to defend and not score. And it's like, bro, that's not going to work, man. And so Kawhi is another one where it's like, Kawhi is a guy who he has his rhythm. He likes to get the ball. He likes to survey and pick and choose how he's going to attack you. But those dudes had to go through hard lessons and adjust what they're doing. And obviously the team had to go through the hard lesson of James has to be the point and Russ has to be the second point guard. And that has streamlined everything because Kawhi is on a heater right now. And a lot of it started in Sacramento when we were up there 2 weeks ago. And it was just, Kawhi, we realized that you like to get to your spot, take 5 seconds, understand what you want to do. How about you just go? It was like when I was hooping with you, I was like, yo, you got an advantage. You 6'6", bro. Just I can bring it up. But when I get it to you, just get into your work. And that's been great for Kawhi because James understands where Kawhi is going to have the ball. One reason why Kawhi is holding up so well, playing all these games, something we haven't seen since he was in San Antonio. He's not the point guard. He's not the guy who's got to run every pick and roll, get everything, get double teamed, and still have to figure stuff out. Nah, like you got James Harden who can take on. It's like when you're a running back. Instead of having a workhorse, you have a running back by committee kind of thing. It's the same thing here. You got different guys who can handle the pick and roll, but one of them is going to be tasked with getting the other guy set up. And that's where Paul George comes in because Paul, I think, has, before Kawhi's recent heater, I think Paul was doing really well while the team was figuring things out. Like Paul has ran more ISOs, haven't checked recently, but Paul was running more ISOs than anyone on the team. And doing it at a pretty high level. And a lot of that is just he's got a bag. He can be a 3-level scorer. Yeah, he's one of the few guys on the team who can pull up from 3 and catch and shoot. A guy who can get to his mid-range, get to the free throw line. I like it when he's aggressive going to the paint. And if you understand what Paul's been through physically, you can understand why that doesn't happen like it did when he was in Indiana. But when Paul George gets to the paint, the entire team is better. And he understands that. And that has really helped the team. Like everyone else just has their roles. If it's a Zubats, you're setting screens, you're rolling, expect to get the ball. Like you have a point guard who will get you the ball off the screen and roll. Not that Russ was bad at that, but mind you, they didn't have that many games with Russ to begin with. And before that, the team basically acted like the point guard position didn't exist. They were like, who needs a point guard? Have Paul and Kawhi do it. Yeah, that's cool, but that can wear them down. And if those guys are unavailable, you don't have a damn point guard in your team all of a sudden. And they didn't like that. They were accepting of that when T. Lue got to be the head coach. But at this stage of what they're being asked to do, it's better to have guys like James Harden and Russell Westbrook who can take on the heavy ball handling role and let Paul and Kawhi do what they do best. Just because you can do something doesn't mean we need to see it spammed over the course of a regular season. That wears you out. They're being sustained right now because of the ball handlers that they have.
Yeah, like I look at offense as like three phases. Advantage creation, basically breaking it down when the defense is set and loaded up on you. And then advantage extending, essentially like closeout attacking, things along those lines. And then play finishing, which is the slashing off of a closeout, vertical spacing, or a guy knocking down a catch and shoot three. And essentially it used to be that Kawhi and Paul George had all of the offensive initiation piece, like that initial breaking down of the defense. And now James Harden and Russell Westbrook are actually taking a lot of that duty away and putting Kawhi Leonard and Paul George more in positions where they're still going to work, but they're going to work with an advantage, and they're going to work already at their spots instead of having to work their way to their spots with a live dribble, which is just more challenging. And then I honestly think that's reflected a lot defensively, as like I think Kawhi and Paul George are having insane defensive seasons this year. And a big part of it, I loved the way you broke it down, the difference between James Harden and Dame, because one of the things the Clippers do is they basically switch everything that doesn't involve Zubats, right? And so as a result of that, like James's size is actually an advantage, because when he comes off in a switch, he's going to at least provide the physical resistance to stop a guy from just bullying his way all the way to the basket, which I think has really helped. And then in general, I think having guys like Terrence Mann and Russell Westbrook to take these high leverage point of attack assignments has put Kawhi and PG in help a lot. And those dudes are devastating in help because they're such good athletes. They read the action so well. Like the defensive numbers are actually crazy. So they're fourth in defense over their last 13 games. They are now up to second in half-court defense, according to Cleaning the Glass, for the whole season. So they've been the second best half-court defense in basketball. They are with the Lakers, Nuggets, Thunder, and Celtics as the only teams that are top 10 in both half-court defense and offense. They've rebounded way better than I thought they were going to. In their last 13 games, they're up to 14th in defensive rebounding percentage, which I think is a testament to those guys just playing really hard. They're eighth best in protecting the paint, and they're pretty good at guarding the three-point line too. Really, the only area of opportunity is their average transition defense. But other than that, they've been really good on the defensive end. What are you seeing specifically that is driving the success of the Clippers right now?
I don't mean to be the general, man, but mindset is so much a part of defense. And again, you play like we've seen each other play. Like you understand what it is. You want to win. Guys can probably score, but the team that wins is the team that is dialed in. And defense is not just physical. A lot of it is mental. A lot of it is understanding what other teams are trying to do to attack you. A lot of it is opportunity, possession battle. You mentioned the transition defense. You know what's a good way to stay out of transition defense? Take care of the damn basketball. What your offense does, getting to the free throw line, because getting to the free throw line is a huge part of sustainable defense, because you're getting guys rest, and more than often than not, you're making those free throws and you're setting up your half-court defense. You're keeping teams out of transition that way. If you don't turn the ball over, and this team had massive turnover issues over the first 10 games of the season, and a lot of that is play style of certain guys. A lot of it is too many ball handlers, and a lot of it is simply put, just coming into a season where guys are just not sure where they're supposed to be. And that's something that I saw the previous year when they broke camp with Paul and Kawhi, but John Wall and Reggie Jackson as the point guards. It was like, this offense is brutal to watch because guys are spraying passes all over the place and not really organized. They were trying to go small, and you're thinking small ball is great offensively. Well, small ball is not so great when you have all of your fours or fives who are masquerading in those positions, not knowing what to do. You have no interior presence. It's the wrong kind of spacing. Great. You have five guys who can line up behind the three-point line, and you have nobody who can screen and roll. You have nobody on the offensive glass. So the team's defense, I got to give a lot of credit to Dan Craig. Dan Craig is a former Miami assistant. He came over with Tyronn Lue in 2020 to be the associate head coach. And Dan Craig is just a mad scientist when it comes to scheming and helping T. Lue adjust defensively to how they wanted to either take primary actions away or take primary scores away. They do an outstanding job there. And when Kawhi and Paul keep repeating in training camp, we're trying to be a top 5 defense. Not good. We're not trying to be good. We're not trying to be as good as we can be. Top 5. Top 5 is a specific goal. Like teachers will tell you, or guidance counselors especially will tell you, set some specific time-oriented goals And that is a way to make sure that you achieve them. And when you say top 5, that means you are looking at what everyone else is doing and measuring it against yourself and holding yourself to a standard and being accountable for it. And that has had as much to do with how they're executing defensively than anything else. James, for all of his lackadaisical tape over the course of his career, is a veteran in the NBA for 15 NBA seasons. He is large. He is handsy. Like, he gets steals every year. And this defense, the difference between this defense this year and previous years is that they have been more active in passing lanes. They are up. They are denying more. They are not letting teams just do what they want to do. They're more physical, which shows up when you see teams shoot poorly against the Clippers for portions of the game. It's because you're getting hit by them dudes. This is not a small team. Even when they don't have a Victor Zubac, these guys are bulky. They're old. They got a lot of old man strength. Like, these dudes have been in NBA weight rooms for several years. Terrence Mann's the young guy in starting lineup. Dude just turned 27. Like, these dudes hit you.
He's big.
And that wears on teams over the course of a game. Now, over the course of the season, it's hard to sustain. That's what you got to see. Great. You got a damn near top 5 defense over the course of the first quarter of the season. What about the rest of the 60 games after we get through these road trips, after we've had some attrition with personnel, after teams understand what you're trying to do and they can exploit a little bit more? That's what I got to see over the course of the season.
Yeah, specifically the part you talked about playing passing lanes more. I think a big part of that has been having PG and Kawhi off ball more, just because of the fact that now with Russ, you're always with Terrence and Russ, you have a top tier athlete guarding at the point of attack,
especially
which
to
is
start games.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's not to say that Paul George and Kawhi aren't going to be on ball. Of course they are. They had lots of really good possessions in that Kings game the other night on like Herter and Keegan Murray and stuff like that. But like the main thing that I see, because I was actually watching the Nuggets game this morning. It was one that I hadn't had a chance to watch yet. And so I went back and watched it this morning. And like one of the big reasons why Jokic missed so many shots in that game is that you can just see, as again, their back pressure that they get on Jamal Murray is a freak athlete, which is then forcing him to go down further into the lane to try to get away from that pressure. And then they got all of these athletes with Kawhi and Paul George shrinking the floor off the ball, and it's just arms everywhere. And like you could literally see Jokic changing his shot. How often do you see Jokic change his shot? He usually is just taking that same muscle memory that he's always taken. They legit had him feeling uncomfortable.